Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's very scary to think that there is a great number of countries that are preparing to have engage their armies against each other. And everyone who knows history knows that in the wars, all of the people lose all of their homes and their lives, their families, and they are left in a plight. And all of the governments are in control and stay insulated from the devastation. It's very hurtful to think that the Americans want to take revolutionary leaders, and that the Americans didn't cooperate with the Syrian people against a dictator because of a religion. The agreement about the religion and the Sharia law is a fight for between the people, and the fight about religion is a fight between the people and the government. Or it's not in the establishment. It's not the fight about religion. It's not one that the allies should take a place in, but America did. America said that because of your religion, you can't be trusted, and because you want this for your country, you can't be trusted because you don't agree with our laws. But the true meaning of America is that you protect people from tyrants truly, because it was the Declaration of Independence and the enumeration against the tyrants of England that started this country. And the people of Syria, they deserved to have their own internal dialogues and confrontations about the aspect of the religion, and they deserve to have someone support them to get rid of the danger, the true danger, which was the oppressive government that was trying to kill them. So in order to give a little hope, I would like to tell a story about part of my history that was an inspiration. My mother's grandfather, his name is Leo Bierkman, and he was a soldier in Hitler's army, and he was sent to Libya. And my grandfather's ability to paint portraits, beautiful portraits with paints, saved his life a number of times. He was in Libya, and it was 1942, and one day his commander came to him and said, "We have a big battle coming, and I fear that we will not live. And as my last wish, I am giving you these orders to allow you to go back home across the Mediterranean Sea to deliver your portrait to my wife, your portrait of me to my wife as my last wish." And my grandfather went back across the Mediterranean Sea in one of the most dangerous times of World War II in 1942. When he got home, Hitler sent him back to the front lines of France, where he was an instructor for the tank operators. So he was teaching the men to drive the tanks, who would then be sent up to the front lines. And when the Americans started to come into France, my great-great-grandfather, Leo Bierkman, was captured as a prisoner of war. And he stayed in the prisoner of war camp for 2 years. And when he had again acquired some paints, and he was painting the prison guards, the Americans. And he took some of the paints and he put marks on his chest and pretended to have symptoms of a pneumonia, tuberculosis, a contagious disease. And when the Americans examined him by x-ray, they saw that there was what looked like calcifications of the lungs. So they sent him back home to Germany. And of course he did not have the disease. And he was returned safely back to Germany to his wife and his 5-year-old son. Now, my great-grandfather, Leo Bierkman, did not want to pass down the stories to his family. And after all of the devastation, and imagine that your life has been spared. You were to die in Libya, and your life has been spared. And he came back home to a Germany where it was still biased and still self-righteous and merciless. And he just sifted back into his self, and he did not share the stories. And when my great-grandfather, Leo Bierkman, was very old, and this is somewhat of a family secret, that he asked his wife to help him commit suicide because he didn't want to live anymore. And she agreed. He took a large number of sleeping pills, and he asked her, please, when I sleep, please put a bag over my head. And she did, and he died. And her son, of course, which is my mother's father, her son never forgave her for killing his father. And it created a rift and turmoil and broke the family. To their dying day, they hated my grandparents. To their dying day, hated my grandmother for participating and allowing Leo to kill himself. And after he had died, my mother, who was still, loved my great-grandmother, her grandmother, wrote to her and asked her to please give all of the stories about the war. And she felt like there was something important about this. And so my grandmother started to write, or my great-grandmother started to write my mother everything about the war and what Leo had told her. And my mother then compiled a book. When my mother, only in the last 10 years, started compiling and working on the projects and collecting everything. In massively. She did a great undertaking, a great project to recover the family history. And yes, my mother thinks her daughter is crazy. And I participated in the revolution, the foreign revolutions. I don't know why. It must have been something deep in my soul. And because it was the revolution of my age. I was 14 years old when the trade towers went down, and I was 25 years old in 2011 when the Syrian revolution started. So that was one that was across my eyes, and that I was the most readily to witness was that. And I felt like there was a great need to participate into it. And did not know all of the story about my grandfather. Actually, only last year, my mother and I spoke, and she revealed it to me about the Great Crossing, the Libya and the Great Crossing. And I feel like my great-great-grandfather, Leo Berkman, he had to have had something embedded in his soul that sent it down across generations silently, so that I was compelled, and that it was always going to happen. You can't escape history. You can't escape all of these things, all of these bad things that, people are happening now, that they think there's no consequence. But there are refugees, and there are people who remember, and there are people that feel like they didn't need to have any part of it. But in conclusion, I would like to show you one of the paintings that my great-grandfather Leo Berkman made, and one that I feel is very significant, and I feel that he called it across the generations from his soul. And this is Leo Berkman. As an old man, long after the war, and this is what he drew. This is one of his paintings. It's absolutely beautiful painting. And look at how excellent of a painter he was. Allahu Akbar.